Oh, brother, it's showtime.
Hello. And happy
Hello.
Friday.
Happy Friday. You know what, Tommy? You and I were on the phone yesterday. I was out away from Chicago doing something very silly that I'm not saying I regret it, but it's on my mind today. But we were talking about how slow of a news week it had been.
A little
And
bit.
then ChatGPT is like, yo, we're doing a live stream. We got a gift for you. And they come out and they show us Codex. Now, granted, that was 2 hours ago, and I'm a busy boy, so I haven't had the chance to play with it. But let me tell you about Codex. New AI agent, okay? For software
hmm
engineering specifically, it can write code, it can fix bugs, it can answer questions about your code base, it can run tests autonomously and in parallel. Cool thing is, it can do it straight from the ChatGPT sidebar.
Yes.
This just nuked Devon. I don't see a world in which Devon is not just like nuked after this. This also, to me, starts to paint a little bit of that picture as to why they acquired Windsurf.
Yeah, man. And it's really interesting. They demoed their interface a little bit. I thought it was kind of cool, but something they said, and I didn't get to watch it back to totally distill this, but it sounded like one of the bets they're making is they think a lot of agentic coding in the future is going to be done both in the browser and with IDEs. And I thought it was interesting that they made a point to call out that bet. Did you hear them say that?
I did indeed.
It's very interesting to me, and it made me wonder, they're going to bring, like Cursor, for example. We saw how incredible the things that they're thinking about are with Rio Lu. And now Windsurf has this ability backed by OpenAI. Are they going to get some pretty premium features only available to Windsurf users? You have to imagine eventually that's going to be the case, right?
I think you're right. Yes.
And so like, Dan Shipper did a great breakdown. Pietro already on top of it says I've kind of been testing it. Not super impressed just yet. It's kind of better at simulating what the code is doing and looks like. Early impressions are mid. I don't know. I'll tell you this though, dude. This is coming right after Windsurf announced Wave 9, building out essentially this fuller ecosystem of dev tooling. Right
Mm-hmm.
after Google DeepSeek's Alpha Evolve, which sounds like a supplement, actually.
That sounds like something I would take with my water in the morning when I wake up at 5 a.m. and then I put banana peel on my face. Yes.
But the point is, I said that this was a slow news week because we just got off the heels of, config and all of the announcements that came in the design tooling space. And all of a sudden I realized this kind of wasn't a slow news week. I think across the board, companies just decided this week, wait, we're going to make this coding process 10 times better. And then they all just came with it to market.
Dude, I feel like the tweet right now is like the last thing I would want to do is learn to code right now. It's just, I know people are going to be like, no, you should learn to code. I don't think you need to. And the thing that's most interesting to me here, and you and I are going to have some beef on this after your whole browser company rant, which I do agree with. I do agree with what you said about browser company. Now let me explain to y'all how these two things are connected. What we're seeing with Codex is that a lot of code should be done autonomously in the browser. If
Mm-hmm.
you need to go a step further, you have an IDE for that. And OpenAI is saying, you know what, we're going to own both ends of that. And then the question becomes, okay, well, if we're making the bet that agents are the future and I can do so many powerful things with agents, I do those in the browser. What does the browser of the future begin to look like? And I will tell you this. When I saw that updated Twitter thread from our boy Joshua over there at Browser Company,
Yeah, yeah.
I got excited because he was talking about the way that the AI and DIA understands the context of what you're browsing. And as you begin to think about how that plays out, it's going to understand your tone. your preferences, the sites you typically browse. It's going to be able to look at a ton of different windows in context together. And you think about how that starts to stack up as you consider the agent layer, and things get really exciting. You'll also note, Mr. Giocco, that he did call out that a lot of the things we love about Arc, the vertical stack of tabs, the spaces, the little kind of bits of polish that made Arc every designer's favorite browser, they're going to bring those to Dia, right? Dude, I'm willing to get hurt again, but right now I'm taking the X back. You know what I mean? Like I'm like,
Okay.
you know what, baby, come on back. It's okay. You cheated on me before. You hurt me, but you can come back.
You know, I don't root for any companies to fail. I'm not going to do it with Arc, with the browser company. I love Arc. We're looking at it right now.
Hmm.
It has gotten a little bit sluggish. I do feel a little burned at the fact that I have beaten the drum about how great the browser company was and how great Arc was. And they just have never been anywhere to be seen to give us any sort of access or to allow us to better amplify what they're building. They're just kind of radio silent. And then they show up with a really, cool recorded video, and then they take away the browser that I've been such an advocate for. They take away support of this thing, and then I get to see URL abstraction, and I was like, oh, okay. Turns out it's just a feature. You can turn this off, and there's some good arguments around, I guess, phishing. But I feel like I don't want URL abstraction. In fact, I look at this and I go, this is kind of what we're seeing, I guess. And I think about Perplexity's Comet, and I think about a lot of these other experiences, like Raycast is probably going to get into this same space. I think a lot of these productivity tools are going to have a browser component. We talked last week, Safari. Apple is working on implementing better AI search natively into Safari. And so all these tools, I think, are heading in the same direction. And a great metaphor for this, that's a few steps ahead, is what we just saw happen with Notion AI meeting notes and the new version of Granola. Those
Dude.
things are now head to head and still inching towards, dude, we're going to be browsing the web in Notion and Granola. Like, I don't see a world where that doesn't eventually become the case. And so is the browser company making themselves look old by staying quiet right now?
Yes.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think that's the thing that's like, guys, you were so good at generating this hype. This is the time to be showing things off beyond URL abstraction. Get involved
Yeah.
in the community. Now, someone called out that I
Yeah.
guess they have a Discord. And if you have a .edu email, May from our community called this out, that they do have a pretty active community of students, which is an
Okay.
interesting place to be indexing as a product. But apparently, that's where they're really getting a lot of this early feedback. And that's the community that they're kind of investing into right now, which makes you
Interesting.
wonder, I wonder what they see that makes that the move for them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's because they thought that. Okay. Well, actually, there's a lot of reasons I have behind this. So, browser company came out and they got all the hype in the world from the design and tech enthusiast community, right? And we're all aware as we sit here and talk about this, that the design and tech enthusiast community can be brutal. And we're not very forgiving. We're quick to judge, but we're also quick to adopt, right? And so they're like, you know what? We're about to piss all these people off because we're going to stop supporting ARC. Let's go find some people that maybe feel a little bit differently and maybe could benefit from some of these new features and aren't going to flame us. Let's go after the students, right? So they talk to students, they start using students as the guinea pig, they start building really helpful features for an audience that you could argue is really heavily relying on the browser, and they need that extra bit of juice, that extra bit of let me ask you questions, let me have AI assist me with what I'm viewing on the page, etc. And now that they feel good about that, they're like, okay, I feel like I should go on a date with my ex, but I don't want to take him to dinner. I'm just going to ask him to coffee first. Right.
Yeah.
And that's what this is.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll give them credit. So I made kind of a I didn't mean for it to be a big spicy tweet. I was just kind of calling it out. This came on the heels of the tweet I made about Browser Company, which said, one, the abstraction of the URL layer, I could take it or leave it. I don't know if I care about that. But the second was, hey, I feel kind of burned. And I explained why I felt burned. And it wasn't just because, oh, you guys didn't acknowledge when I would talk good about you. That's fine. But then it was like, well, I've been talking so great about you, and then you took away the thing that was the reason I was talking so great about you. And I just felt like a 1-2 punch of not feeling appreciated. And so then I thought about who are the companies doing a really good job of cultivating
Mm.
their advocates and their evangelists. And, there's so many that could go into both of these buckets. And I certainly have my own blind spots, but I look at Framer, I look at Contra, Bolt doing a great job this year, Vercel, right? Hosting ship and the way they get involved in the community. Perplexity. I love Perplexity Supply. I love that they're doing this community swag play. I've got some notebooks coming from them I'm excited about. Notion, I think, does a really good job of this too, as much as you love Notion. And Figma. Figma's obviously a giant, but they do still invest a significant amount of resources. They go out, they find their players, and they platform them. And I think that's the kind of activity that I really get behind. And especially as indie builders start to think about how to get to market, these are the kinds of moves I love seeing from larger companies because they signal how important this is, even at those stages. I feel like it's extremely important at the early stages. But then I thought about the ones
I
that are staying lost. Go ahead, man.
well, I think we're missing something that's really important. I don't think that granola is staying lost, for example. I definitely don't think that windsurf is staying lost when it comes to community. I hard disagree with you there.
Explain how not, and it can't be because people talk about their product as product-led growth.
Ooh.
Because
When
here's the difference, and I
Go ahead,
called
go
this
ahead, go
out,
ahead.
right? Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, listen, Lee Robinson came in from Vercel, and he was like, "Hey, love the kind words for Vercel, but these are great companies. Granola has raving fans, including myself." All of this is true, and I said absolutely. And I'm a huge granola fan. I love granola. I love a lot of the companies in this bucket. But the truth is, they are not actively investing into their community. They have a community of rabid fans because their product has led to that growth. But here's the difference, right? This is what's different. You have people like me who come in and I'm early adopt and I get excited and I find all the things I love about your product organically. And those things happen to drive virality. They drive how much I'm going to continue to tell other people about your product. But you're not actually, it's a one-way street, right? Like you're delivering the features, they're coming out. I'm like, great, I go, I check it out, but I'm not actually engaging with your company outside of the product. And a lot of these companies, that's totally fine. That's all it needs to
Mhm.
be.
Mhm.
But there are times, and I think we're getting to a place as software continues to get more and more saturated, that the people who are investing into their advocates, their evangelists, are going to prevent what's happening now, which is significant churn. I will early adopt just about anything. I will look, for all intents and purposes, like one of your most loyal customers until your neighbor releases what I said was an Arby's sandwich, and I
I think you're
immediately
just
churn.
hurt that these companies aren't giving you money. That's what it is.
It's
Let's
probably
move on.
the truth.
What do you want from granola from a community perspective, right? Like up till now, all granola has been is a free AI meeting note tool.
Right.
Like it's not like Notion to where Notion has created this labyrinth of complexity and it needs evangelists. It needs to invest in the community to teach you how to use the fucking thing. Granola isn't that. You get a little button that says, "Hey, do you want to join this meeting and record?"
Right.
Doom, done, right? So like
Yeah.
that's why I disagree with you on the granola thing. On the windsurf thing, I guess you have to explain to me what you think not being involved in the community is.
Well, look at Windsurf and look at
Uh
Vercel, and I think you've got all your contrasts. I think you make a good point about granola, but I think that point is gonna become dated quite literally after this week
yeah, but
with the announcement of granola too.
that's kind of a bullshit take because how long has Vercel been around? How long has windsurf been around, right? Like you're not really looking at these things in the context of where the company is in their journey. And that's why I think you might be
Codium's been around
unfairly.
for a hot minute, and I mean, Vercel has too, but, like, the efforts for community are fairly recent. Vercel's ship, Vercel's community engagement with their V0, the things that they're doing around supporting,
Vercel was
collaborating with
already
other
a
like,
yeah,
integrating with other
sure,
applications
sure.
is another example.
I don't disagree, but Vercel was already a juggernaut of a company, right?
Sure.
Like they were already there. They had to build community because frankly, they want you to come and they want you to host on Vercel. They want to build V0 because they want that to attract you to deploying on Vercel. Like there's a lot of reasons behind why community makes sense when it comes to the dollars. But
So wait, are
Codium,
you under the impre or is your take then that a community or a tool should not invest into the distribution or the community angle until they reach a certain dollar amount? Is that the context that the nuance you're trying to?
no, the nuance is this. If you think about any company's growth trajectory, right? Like
Mhm.
Codium was a tiny little thing. It was tiny. And then they said, you know what? We're going to fork VS Code. We're going to introduce Windsurf. And since they've done that, it's just been a whirlwind of shipping features and growing the product and making sure it's stable, right? They haven't had enough lifespan yet to say,
Mhm.
okay, how do we do this and also build all of the other organizational layers that allow us to really support and invest in the community? If you think about Bolt and StackBlitz, Bolt had been around for 7 years, or excuse me, StackBlitz had been around for 7 years, and then they came out with Bolt, and they started growing like crazy. And now they've started to say, okay, great. How do we invest more and more into the community off of $100 million raise, right? So all I'm saying is that it's not necessarily fair when you consider the lifespan of some of these companies and where they're at. That's all.
I kind of take the take that I think companies should, in most cases, think about their distribution and community up front now more than ever. Not everybody. I think OpenAI doesn't need to do it. I think Anthropic probably doesn't need to do it. I think if you're Windsurf, maybe pre OpenAI acquisition, it made a lot more sense. They probably don't need to do it now. But I will say, I think the companies, especially the smaller your company, the more it's especially in 2025, the more necessary it's becoming to start thinking about how are you getting, even if, and when we say community play, I don't think that that has to be hugely expensive. I think that you could just be active on a tangential Reddit subreddit, and that's your community play. You spin up a Discord like George did with Unicorn Studio out of open beta. You spin up a Discord, you've got a community there. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And a lot of companies, if you don't start that right away, then I think the argument you're making is yes. Like once you've got 100 people head count and you've done no community activity, it suddenly becomes a little bit more complicated to do it.
The threshold for engaging the community, I think, has to do with A, maturity, and B, a tangible opportunity to do something with your community. I think that's a great take, Kyle. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think I'm with you. I think companies should build in public. I think there's a lot of great stuff that they should do for community. Hell, fuck it. I think companies should live stream and argue with their chat. Every company needs their own Devin Fountain and Adrian Fortuna and Kyle Zantos. You know what I mean? They need the regs. Speaking of, where'd Zach go? Should somebody reach out to Zach and see if he's still live because we haven't seen him in a
Still
while.
kicking it.
But yeah, I don't know.
This
Let's.
well,
What else we got? I don't want to talk
Well,
about
this is
community anymore.
no. Let's talk about it because I think this is a perfect segue into what we are digging into today. And we've got
Okay.
Jake Kapoor joining us in
Hmm.
about 5 minutes.
Uh
And the
oh.
big thing here is so we see OpenAI, we see the movement across AI powered development tools to essentially become a CTO partner. I have a lot of arguments and I see a lot of great examples of founders building community in upfront. What counts as a founder in 2025, man? You know, you have creators building businesses. You have agency owners trying to evolve what the agency definition is. You have all of these people, indie builders and designers trying to create their own stuff now. What if these are the people that are able to build businesses and we talk about this every show, the question then becomes, well, who's actually funding these people? And for a little bit, it seemed like that was hit or miss. I think as of this year, a lot of the infrastructure is starting to catch up, and a lot of the theses that are out there are starting to formulate around these types of people. So, for example, I think creators are the new founders, and we've said that for a couple of years now. But I think venture capital now believes that too. We look at Slow Ventures, who just launched a $60 million creator fund, essentially back individual creators. They create an umbrella company, they back an individual creator. I think they give like 1 to 3 million for maybe 10%. And they just say, hey, we're not going to get involved. We will be here if you need support, but we want you to go do what you do best. And that's build real businesses on top of your ability to essentially garner attention. And I love to see that creators are the new founders and community is the moat. That is Slow Ventures thesis. They've put that out there. In addition to that, though, and you've seen Ben Blumenrose talk a lot about this, especially since Config. We had Soleo on last week talking a lot about this. Designers are the new founders. And that's not just like a really nice, warm and fuzzy thing that Lanier was saying since maybe 2020 or whenever it was. This is a real thesis VCs are betting on. They've got a $40 million fund to back startups where design is the strategic weapon. That's like $100,000 to like $1 million they're giving, often for about 5%, right? And Ben is just on a tour right now, absolutely running around trying to find sick design founders. I think their portfolio includes companies like Stripe and Notion and Gusto. But then you take it one step further, and we see all this tooling, and indie builders aren't just the new founders, they're kind of becoming the startup darlings right now. And I think we're going to see more and more indie builders emerge out of this because you have funds like Blue Ocean Games. Hey, gaming and indie dev for gaming is really blowing up in this space too. They've launched a $30 million sale fund, which is basically for indie game devs, usually 100 to 300,000 per team, a little bit of mentorship, a little bit of IP retention, but they specifically target solo developers who are building community-backed games. Then you look at A16Z Speedrun, who just concluded their intake, I think at the beginning of this week. Their demo day goes in October, but they are specifically looking for high velocity independent builders, people who are kind of thinking in this new direction. And you see the lay of the land, man. Like this is changing everywhere. The profitability focus is on indie. They're looking for AI tool first companies. They're looking for audiences, founders with audiences. Indie doesn't mean small necessarily anymore. It just means you own the full stack. And that's become possible now. I think it's really interesting to see that this is the case. And Jay Kapoor, by the way, who is partner over at VSC Ventures, they focus primarily on a lot of energy plays, a lot of entertainment and media plays, a lot of AI-powered automation plays. And they have a lot of bets that storytelling, community, builders as broadcasters are the next darlings to come about. So I'm kind of excited about it. You and I run this media company. We have a lot of ambitions around this. This is right up my alley, dude.
I got to agree with Adrian here. Next time, Tommy, we got to get a breather in there. We got to get some jokes. We got to get some layers. You got to be about the community. We got to be about the community.
My son last night came up and he goes, "Hey, Dad, what is the new American dream?" He's 17, and then he looks over at his brothers and he kind of smirks. He goes, "I just initiated a lecture. You guys have to sit through this cutscene now." And he was correct, man. He gets me going. And when you get me going, you just gotta sit through the cutscene.
Can we talk about community and builders and focus and all that good stuff real quick? I would like to talk about that real quick because I got something on my mind. I got something on my mind. I got something. I got something cooking. I got a little something that's cooked up, almost done, almost ready to go live. We got some cool stuff going on here. You click this, you get some stuff, you get some photos. You got some photos. We got to take way more photos, but I took a little photos. You know what I'm saying? You got a little membership.
I like it.
I would like to tell you how long this took. This took 2 days. This was 2 days. Yeah, it is 2 days. But yeah, man, I want to give a home to these people. I want to put my money where my mouth is. I want to give them a place to
Well,
show up.
speaking of people putting their money where their mouth is on these bets of community and media, Jake Kapoor's with us. We're going to bring him up. He's a general partner at VSC Ventures, venture firm investing in early stage climate and automation startups. Worked across the NFL, tech stars, multiple VC funds, and now the focus is backing founders who combined a lot of storytelling with deep tech. And man, I can't wait to talk to you, Jay. It's great to meet you. Thanks for joining us. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. Got off my red eye from SFO this morning. It's
Woo!
crazy, man. Nobody wants to fly into Newark, so all the flights are insane. But I'm here. I'm happy to be with you guys. I'm got my coffee. I'm fired up. Let's go.
Heck yeah. Heck
Yeah.
yeah.
Jay, what kind of checks are you writing these days?
We write between 500K and a million into these companies. So we're on our fund one. So maybe I'll give you guys a quick background. So I've been investing in early stage venture for the last decade now, which is kind of crazy. But I started my career in media entertainment. So my 20s were spent learning the kind of the dark arts of media, brand, and storytelling at the biggest brands in the world, like the NFL and Madison Square Garden, and got to work on some really cool projects like the Sphere in Vegas back when we were breaking ground on that in 2017. But the last decade, I've really been spending on investing in early stage companies. And then we started this fund a little over 3.5 years ago to help the founders that are building these amazing things in dirty, dusty, and dangerous industries, help them with their storytelling, help them with their brand, because we feel like these things are very needed, but they sometimes aren't as sexy as consumer or crypto or some of these things that are in the zeitgeist. So that's why we built this fund to help these founders.
So why has storytelling been such a pillar of your thesis around this?
Man, storytelling is everything, right? Like as a founder, you kind of need you have one of three constituencies at any given time, right? Anything that you're putting out there publicly, anything that you're sharing with your companies internally. You've got your customers, obviously, right? That's how you generate revenue. You've got your employees, and I think storytelling is not talked about enough in terms of how you kind of galvanize and really excite people towards building something that's never existed before, right? They don't know where
Mm.
they're going, but they trust you to get there. And then the last bit of it is your investors. If you're going to go and raise, not everybody has to raise venture capital, but if you're going to go raise venture capital, you have to show people, hey, 10 years from now, this is the way I think the world is going to be. And the only way that happens is through us. And so I think at any given time, as a company builder, as a founder, really anybody, one of my favorite books that I read, I mean, almost a decade ago, was Daniel Pink's To Sell is Human. And if you
Mm.
guys haven't read it, it's fantastic. But the basic premise is one out of every nine people in America is in a direct selling job, right? Their title says salesperson. But the other eight out of nine are also in sales. I kind of feel the same way about storytelling. Like you have to be a storyteller, whether or not your title says branding, marketing, whatever, because you're convincing people to take a course of action. And
Hmm.
oftentimes the way you can do that is by painting a vision of the future. And so that's what we try to do with every company we invest in. We invest in them and we do a lot of the work that they would be going to an agency for. We do that up front.
Yeah,
So
I'm curious. No, Tommy, it's my turn. You calm down. I'm curious. Like, what are the biggest mistakes you see? Yeah, so let's talk somebody that's really going from zero to one. They're like building a new
Yeah,
product. They're pretty excited about it. In our case, maybe they're a designer or they're a
yeah.
builder,
Yeah.
and they're launching something. What are the biggest mistakes you see in how they approach storytelling? And then what are the
Hmm.
examples where you see people that are just crushing it?
Oh, totally. I think there's a couple of places you can get caught up. One is I gave you these three constituencies, right? Your customers, your employees, and your investors. Trying to create messaging that hits all three is like trying to hit three bullseyes with one arrow. It's like, guys, it's not going to happen, right? So who is important to you today? And this is where I think like how you build good messaging, and then on top of that, how you build good brand and visual communication, it all ties together. These are different stories, but they're connected, right? So for your customers, how are you solving my problem today, right? And why is it
Mhm.
better than anything else that I've tried? Then you've got your employees. Why is this going to be the best place for me to work to spend my next 5 years, right? Maybe we're growing really fast and I'm getting a chance to get on the ground floor. Maybe I'm coming into something that's already taking off, and you are convincing me to come on board. And especially with a startup, you said, somebody who's just starting out. Look, man, you can go to OpenAI and make $900,000 a year, right? Like, why are you coming to my startup? Well, because I'm telling you, this is the only place in the world that you can work on this problem. And just convincing people and exciting them that this is like, yeah, man, you can make great money anywhere else, but you only get to solve this problem here. And then lastly, your investors, they don't want to hear people sometimes, this is like the biggest mistake I see people make. They try to sell the same customer story to investors. And like they're
Hmm.
connected, right? Because they're like, look at this problem I'm solving. And it's a really important problem to solve. But especially when you're working in some of the industries that we work in, right? Like literally yesterday, while I was in San Francisco, was meeting with a founder that's helping like manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, aerospace and satellites and all this stuff, find labor. It's so hard to find welders and machinists and technicians, and like nobody's built a brand around like the Zip Recruiter for advanced manufacturing, right?
Hmm.
And so we were talking about how do you do that? How do you excite people to come do this stuff? Well, your investors don't really care. Oh, you fill my job listing in 3 days instead of 3 months or whatever. They want to say, okay, what does the world look like 10 years from now? And then I got to put a number on that and say, am I going to make enough money to retire to the south of France with that, right? Like that's the kind of thing where like you can get caught up a little bit selling the customer story to investors. Investors want to hear the vision of the future, and they want to hear why you're the only person that can actually make that happen. So I rambled a
Hmm.
little bit there, but I think
That's
that's like
great.
a big trap people fall into, is trying to hit all three at the same time. Pick one and craft your story to be focused on what that audience cares about.
I think for a lot of, especially anyone who's in the process of still finding product market fit and is building upwards, you've got some different personas, right? And I just kind of
Yeah.
covered them before you jumped on. We've got designers who are turning into builders. They're
Yeah.
recognizing the leverage there.
Yeah.
You've got obviously the indie builder folks who have been around for a while now, but they're starting to get a little bit more, they're kind of becoming these underground darlings. Like, let's
Yeah.
find that person. But then you also have essentially people who were kind of just influencers. This was just a social media content play,
Yep.
recognizing, wait a second, with a little bit of vision and some capital, this turns into something way different.
Totally.
And it's funny, I find myself in those positions, and it's easy to say, hey, you need storytelling. And for some people, especially if you haven't been in this kind of new era of media, you're like, okay, like that seems like marketing culture. Maybe we spin up a podcast. Maybe I start building in public. But for me, the way that I've started to think about it is what happens when we start to think we have a media studio and a
Mm.
product studio.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, how do we make
Mhm.
that like this isn't just about marketing? This is like licensing. This is being tastemakers in our field. This is so much more than just a distribution funnel. It's primarily that, but it's
Yeah.
so much more. How are you seeing that come to life in some of the people that you're talking to,
Well,
media and
you
product studios?
yeah, you hit the nail on the head in the beginning. Like it's audience, right?
Mhm.
I told you I spent my 20s in consumer brands, and it was all about how do you build audience? How do you build audience for the NFL? How do you build audience for specific teams? How do you do it for the Knicks and Madison Square Garden, the Rangers? And it's gotten harder than ever, like to build a large audience, right?
Mhm.
But I think it's gotten easier than ever to build like your hardcore 1,000, 2,000 people. And Tommy, you're nodding because I've heard some of your content before, and I know you preach some of this too, which is like, man, you don't need to be the Paul brothers, and like you don't need to be some of these like big influencers. But if you have a community, and I really do mean community, because that's not just audience. Audience is one way, right? Community is two ways. But if you have that already, the kinds of products that you can offer them to help them solve problems they already have is so valuable. And this is like, man, the kinds of companies I work with, they would kill to have something like that, because they're sometimes starting from scratch. Maybe they're building something in construction. Maybe they're building something in recycling, or they're like, I have a company that's doing AI call agents for truckers. So your truck
Mm.
breaks down somewhere over Texarkana. You're trying to make it to Dallas, 4 a.m. Do you call a human being? Do you call whatever? How do you build an experience for that trucker? And how do you take somebody who really just operates off a text, man? Like they don't use apps,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit, right? How do you design an experience for that? But then also, how do you build a community so that trucker, which sometimes these guys are independent, contractors, they tell their buddy and they go, man, I use this thing, I had an issue, best thing I've ever used, right? So those experiences that you design, when you have an audience, it gets so powerful because you can test out these things a little bit. And then the second piece of it is it becomes your virality, it becomes your word of mouth. And these days, it's so hard to acquire customers on social, right? Like gone are the days of Instagram ads and Facebook. And they work a little bit, right? And they work in small niches. But if you can start to build those networks and they start to become your mouthpieces, man, that magic starts to happen.
Jay, you just got me fired up because you're talking about like boring industries, and I've been talking about them nonstop. So I'm going to take us on a
Awesome.
slight tangent real quick. I got a question for you, sir.
Yeah.
How excited do you get when you think about all of the unstructured but very important data that's just hiding in PDFs?
Oh, dude, you're like oof, so close to my heart. One of
All
our
right,
companies.
Jay, we got to talk, man.
Let's go. One of our companies is building AI for law enforcement. And when I say that, people think Minority Report. Holy crap, right? And the
Oh
first
yeah.
time you say AI in law enforcement, people go, oh, racial profile. So there's a lot of messaging and storytelling that has to happen in there. But really, all they're doing is they're going to police departments and they're saying, hey, give me all the PDFs of your, be on the lookout, your BOLOs, your Amber Alerts, your whatever. Send me all the PDFs because right now it feels like a PDF. And it's like, cool, we ingest that and we turn that into, structured data, right? So to you,
Yep.
man, like it's like there's so much information locked in there and it wasn't accessible before. And
Nope.
like it's great. So I know somebody in the chat was like, feels like a pitch. I promise, dude, I'm not pitching my stuff. Like to me,
No,
I
no,
just
no.
I just love it. I get excited about this stuff. And so to
Ig-
me, it's
ig-
like, you know,
Ignore him. That's our resident troll under the bridge.
it's all
Like,
good. It's all good.
dude,
But
I was
what I will say is like it's really exciting because that same model you can use in any industry. Anything
in
that's
any
locked in
industry.
PDFs.
Yeah.
The last 4 years, it's become so easy. Whether it's
Yep.
OCR or these other technologies, and you
Yep.
can go to somebody and you can say, "This problem nobody's been able to solve for you. I can do it, and I can do it in a way that like your customer's actually going to engage with it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm about to drop some crazy value for chat if they pay attention, but I became obsessed with it because we think about how easy it is now for designers to become just like one person armies, right? Like a designer is inherently a problem solver, right? They look at the world, they identify problems, they dream up solutions, and now they can just build them really easily. It's easier than ever. But you
Yeah.
have to have distribution too. But all designers are like chasing the same things. They're like, well, let me just build
Mm.
something that's like near and dear to me. And it's like, no, 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 no. You're missing the point. Look at the world broader and think like, what opportunities are there to take really ugly industries that have really inaccessible data and apply your skills to that? And so I was like, dude, I was signing a contract actually, and it was a PDF, and I was like, okay, let me upload this to Google Drive. And I was like, I'm never gonna read this again unless something bad happens.
Yeah.
And like, I was thinking, like, what info lives in these PDFs? I learned so much crazy stuff across real estate, commercial tenancies, CPG, manufacturing, construction, etc. So it's like $1 billion per spend. Out of $1 billion of spend, there's $1 million of missed revenue because people missed the fine print in PDFs,
Yeah. I don't
which
I don't doubt
which
that. Yeah.
blows my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, chat, you guys got to pay attention to this stuff. You got to get with O3. You got to say like, teach me about these boring industries. Tell me about
Let me let
PDFs.
me yes and one thing there, right? So what's actually happening in this world, in this dirty, dusty, dangerous world? Why do I get really excited about it? There's a generational shift happening in kind of two ways. One is you've got people that need to retire, right? The average age of a telephone pole technician is like 59 years old, right? So I think about my dad when he was 59. Do I really want him climbing a telephone pole? And you've also got the business owners that own these manufacturing plants and own these things, and they're retiring. And it used to be, it used to be a family business, and grandpa would pass it down to dad, and dad would pass it down to the kids, and the kids are like not as interested anymore. So some of these businesses are getting rolled up, they're getting sold to private equity, whatever it is. But the people that are buying these businesses or inheriting them are digital natives. And so they're coming into businesses where they're going, this looks like crap. I can't show this to my customers. Our website, guys, I saw a website for a company doing 25 million in top line revenue. They'd manufacture parts for like Apache helicopters, 25 million annual revenue. It looked like it was made in GeoCities. Like it's wild to
Hmm.
me, right? And they're like, why would you? Like, why would you care? It's like, well, do you want to stay at 25 million or do you feel like you guys could be a bigger thing, right? And if you're going to be a bigger thing, then you need an outward facing presence. And so somebody showing up and saying, guys, I could vibe code a website for you and actually put your product out there and help tell your story a little bit. it's a massive opportunity. And so whether
Yep.
you're going to build a business in the space or you're going to build a service provider in the space, the demand is increasing because I think 5 million of these businesses are going to change hands in the next like 5 to 8 years. The numbers you can get different numbers, but like 5 million businesses in America changing hands, and many of them do not have a public storytelling presence.
So
Yep.
Jay, Hunter likes a lot of boring shit. I like to
I
talk
like
about
money,
media
Tommy. I
stuff.
like
Yeah,
money.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's
And
that's
so
what it is.
and my question is, I think about a lot of the people I know who started little media presences and are trying to build real media companies. It's like cool. They swung and they were able to build like mid six figure, low seven figure revenues, and now they're trying to get serious about their operations.
Mm.
And so I'm curious from you, one, do you think media driven businesses should think about raising? And two, if a media driven business comes to you, what sorts of revenue streams and angles get you excited?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I've seen different models across the thing, right? So sometimes you see folks that are saying, "Look, I built a great YouTube presence, right? We have a company called Homemade that does home flips," and then they said we built a product on top of it. So they built a YouTube following of 275,000 people. They're like the Chip and Joanna Gaines for like Gen Z, right? And they're like, now, we basically were getting requests from people saying, "Can we flip homes with you?" And they said, "Great, we built a fintech product where people can come together and flip homes with me," right? Again, not a pitch, but it's a good example of you started with a media business, your customers were coming to you with a problem, and then you built a product around it. And in
Hmm.
that case, we actually structured a deal where we said, uh, we're investing in the whole thing. So there's media revenue that comes in, end up being about 10 to 15% sometimes of the total business. And then the
Hmm.
other 85% is the money that's coming in from people that are saying, "Hey, this $500,000 home in Austin that you're flipping, I want to come in and have a piece of that." And, just like a venture capitalist does, I want 10% of the round. Somebody comes in and does 10% of that, right? So I think, Tommy, coming back to your question exactly, like when somebody comes and pitches me that, I think I am least interested in the media component.
Hmm.
I think the media component to me is your marketing and distribution channel. So I don't really like personally want to invest in that entity.
Hmm.
But what I want you to show me is why the years you've spent building that entity give you an advantage over anybody else that shows up tomorrow and tries to build the same
Yep.
product. So
Yep.
you and I tomorrow could say, "Hey, we built a fintech product where people can do home flipping." Right, but we don't have 275,000 subscribers that tune in to every episode, and we can push, notifications and stuff out to them. You've built that lock in, and I think as investors, we can sometimes do a better job of digging in and being like, "How real is this?" Right? Because I've seen crazy numbers for some media
Yeah,
businesses,
yeah,
and I've seen athletes, and I've seen celebrities
Yep.
get involved, and then you realize like, oh, cool, like a tweet from XYZ athlete, is not really moving the needle. But another group that maybe has smaller numbers, but a really like fervorous audience, every time they push something out, people engage with it, they comment, they share, and you can start to see the numbers go up. So I don't know if that answers your question exactly,
yeah,
but I think there's different structures that you can play into. Investing in the media piece alone is the least interesting part to me.
Hmm. I like that take.
Yeah.
yeah. What are you seeing? And I appreciate your time with us. If
Yeah.
you've got maybe 5 more minutes or so,
I'm
Jay.
good. I'm good till the top of the hour. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Are there some companies out there, and I know you're investing around, but like in the media side, who you're seeing in these
Yeah.
niche areas, like moving the needle, and you're like, wow, maybe they have a product or maybe they haven't had a product yet. Who's like Every is an interesting company to me because of
Great.
how they're kind of
Yes.
moving, and I don't know how
Yeah.
their performance on everything is, but I like their thesis. Who are you seeing that's doing something similar to that?
Um, Patty McCormick at Not Boring has built an awesome platform. He started writing his newsletter during COVID, and I mean, it's really just taken off. I think you saw Eric Tornberg, who was doing this with his platform. He recently just became a partner at Andreessen Horowitz, but he had built Turpentine Media, and Turpentine Media got acquired by a venture fund. That's an interesting thing that's happening in our industry. It's kind of fun for me, like having been in the space for a while, to see like, hey, where y'all been? We've been talking, about this for a while. But all these funds are now trying to figure out how they build their own media presence because they want to pump up their own companies, right? And so, I've been preaching, hey, don't just have a podcast, have something that's authentic to you that you can do consistently. I've done, now across 2 podcasts that I launched 150 episodes. And I gotta be honest, guys, if you're starting a podcast, you don't even know the voice of the show for like 25 episodes. I don't know if you felt that. Maybe you're better than me. You figured it out in 15. But it took me about 25 episodes to be like, what even is this? And who cares? And got enough data and feedback from people being like, hey, love this segment, more of that, please. Didn't really care about the background of the person you were interviewing. I could have Googled that if I wanted, right? So what I tell people is like, if you want it now, you should have started 6 months ago. So understand that if you want it in 6 months, you got to start now. And then the other big thing is just do it with consistency. And so figure out a format and a structure that you can do. Maybe you can do live stream regularly, and that's a better format for you. Maybe you like doing something all over it. So I think that's the thing too, is like, what am I seeing? I'm seeing more people in my industry that are trying to build this stuff. I think a lot of them are going to fail, not because they don't have quality, but because they don't have consistency. But when I see somebody like Packy, I see somebody like Eric, Molly O'Shea from Sorcery, she's doing a great job. The Tech Bros Podcast Network, TBPN, I'm sure you guys see them all over Twitter now. I think that the biggest thing these guys have cracked, is consistency. Not every episode's a banger. It doesn't have to be. But you have little bits of good things in each one, and then you just build on top of it. And so that's what I'm trying to do with my content too. I started this fun thing in April because I just need to start working out. I got a kid, and I haven't actually gotten as much exercise as I need to. So I said, let me take something I don't enjoy doing, going out for a morning run every morning at 6 a.m. and something I do enjoy doing, which is making content. And I started a thing called Sweat Equity. So I go for a run, and then after 2.5, 3 miles, I'm sweaty. I turn the camera on.
That's good.
And I just say something on my mind. And the best part of doing it every day is like, I don't stress about it. If this one sucked and got no likes, whatever, there's another one tomorrow. And so that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, if you're starting to build your own media, just find something that's fun for you and find something that's consistent and just do that.
And your podcast, by the way, that you're talking about, the game plan, correct?
Yeah. Well, that was the first one I did. I started that during COVID because a bunch of the athletes I knew were stuck in their houses and there was no sports. And what used to happen, because I was at the NFL, people called me and said, hey man, I see you doing this like venture capital stuff. I got approached by this deal. You want to take a look at it with me and give me some feedback on it? And eventually, after doing that like 8, 9, 10 times, I was like, why don't we do it on the mic? And these guys are like, okay, fine. So during COVID, I at some point I was doing like 5, 6 episodes a week, but not putting them out, just recording them and then kind of weekly release schedule. That first season was 50 episodes, and that was unsustainable. So I basically realized that the number for me is 25 to 30 episodes a season, and that the game plan, I did 75 episodes of that show, and then this most recent one is called Climb, and this is where I interview founders, industry experts, authors. I got the author of this really great book called Prime to Perform, and she talked about the 3 negative motivators and 3 positive motivators, and I was like, it's actually one of our like best. I don't know if it was the numbers of the episode, but people reached out and they responded and they were like, I really love that episode. I want more of that. So next season, I'm going to do more authors because it's like really interesting to say, let's take something that you're an expert in and apply it to the fields of the people that are listening.
An example of that voice coming out like deeper into the life of the series. We're having the same thing here too, and it's been a pretty fun run. Hey Jay, I really appreciate it, man. I could talk to you, I feel like, for hours on this.
Happy to be back, guys. Let me know when you need me back, and appreciate you dealing with post Red IJ today.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I can't imagine what it looks like when you're feeling great. But
fully rested.
We'll have to have you again when you are. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. We will talk to you very soon, Jay.
See you guys. Thanks very much.
Yo, real quick. We got some important questions. When did we lose the mustache guy? I just realized that we did lose the mustache guy. I didn't even know.
Can I tell you what happened? I shaved it on accident, all right? And I knew it was a brand mistake. All right. I recognized my error as soon as it happened. We mourned in this household, and we moved on. All right. We're gonna take it in stride, and we're gonna keep it moving.
Yeah, I like it. Chat, I got to do the obligatory top of the hour. You know what that means. Do you know what that means?
I do. I think I do.
I mean, it could be one of three things. It could either be me talking about Bolt, me talking about subscribing, or me talking about is my audio in sync. It's one of the three.
That's
You
true.
know?
These are the day-to-days.
You know what I should do? Maybe I should just do all three.
Yes.
You know what I should do?
I think you should solve
All,
your audio issues with Bolt while being cranky about it.
I don't know if I could solve my audio issues with Bolt, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, it is time to shit on Notion Doo-doo. You got that right, buddy. You missed the part where I did earlier. All right, so let's talk about something really important. Tommy and I have been doing this for a while. I don't know what episode this is, 23, something like that, 24.
24.
We just launched the Release Notes newsletter. If you're subscribed, great. If not, we're going to fix that. It does not have a website yet for you to subscribe. Because you know what? We do things, the naughty way over here, quick and
You got to
dirty.
work for it, guys. You got to find
You got to
it.
work for it. You got to work for it. We're going to do something. We're gonna do something. But if you would like to subscribe, just give us your email. We'll subscribe you for sure. That's all you need. All right.
It's a
We'll
managed.
plug that in.
Our
We'll
newsletter
subscribe
business
you.
is a managed service.
It is a friendly reminder. Okay. Here's what you do. Here's what I need you to do right now. All right. I'm gonna show everybody how to do this. What's gonna happen? We're going to pull up Mr. Hammond's stuff. We're going to get on the old YouTuberino. We're going to go to Release Notes Live, okay? At Release Notes Live. We're going to click the subscribe button. We're going to go to each and every one of these videos and we're going to hit the like button. And then what we're going to do is we're going to leave a comment that says, Hunter is my favorite host. That's what we're going to do. All right. On each and every video, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And of course, if you want to subscribe to the newsletter, we're going to hook you up because we're going to drop in a fat site. It's pretty sick. It's going to be good. It's going to be nice. In fact, it may be your new home for streaming.
Yeah, that is true.
Yes.
We didn't really. You said you shit on Notion, but I will tell you, you didn't go super hard on them. I'm not sure how you feel about this granola versus Notion fight that's coming. You think there's a fight coming? What do you think? Have you tried Notion meeting notes yet? It's pretty good.
No.
It's not bad. The artifact here. The artifact.
Devin said he unsubscribed.
of company conversation. Like we always talk about, in corporate, the source of truth. It's in Jira, or it's in Confluence, or it's in Notion, and it's like it's the PRDs we write and the SOPs. It's the fucking conversations that are happening.
It's the conversations, yeah.
The number of times like you and I send voice notes, or like the texts, or the Slacks, or the linear messages, like all of that coming together into whatever this artifact is. Like that's the source of truth. That's what's interesting to me about what Granola and Notion are positioning themselves to solve. And I think it's a really smart position. Everybody, by the way, everyone is eavesdropping on everyone now. I think it's fair to say when you jump on a call with somebody, right? We kind of talked crap about how creepy it was when the Firefly AI bot was just hanging out with you solo while you wait for the other person to join. Well, guess what? We don't really have that problem anymore because now everyone just shows up with their little fucking flying robot overhead, just keeping surveillance. And I think it's starting to become culturally understood. Like, yeah, I got my dude here just listening in.
Yeah. Here's what I think. I think the days of sitting down to write a document are over, right? Like I just don't do it. Tommy, you have all kinds of historical data and previous newsletters and all these things, and you use AI to help you write your newsletter even. I do the same thing for Today in Design, right? Yeah. I want that listens to my conversations, right? Organizes them in the right place. And I want the ability to tie into my Slack or potentially even my email. And I want the ability to chat with an LLM that sits across my information and has context and can transform that information for me. That's what I want, right?
Right.
And in that experience, I don't want a lot of features. I don't want to build tables and databases and interlink databases and then all these little things to stack up all these little features that don't matter. I just want the information and I want to get signal out of that information. And that's my
You just
beef.
want to summon Raycast and be like, yo, I got a question. Remember that linear conversation I had with that contractor over here and we were talking about this?
Kinda.
Like, what is
Yeah.
the ... And they're like,
Kinda.
it just goes out and then comes back with the only thing you need to know.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's my beef with Notion is like, I think Notion's a beautiful product. I think they do a lot of cool stuff. I think they do a lot for the community. I think that they've created their own hell. That's what I think. For me, at least. Like, I get into Notion, I'm like, I just want to create a fucking note and I don't even know where to do it from. I have to like go here and then choose what database it lives in and then this and then that. I just want to create a note. I just want to record a meeting. Granola does that for me.
Yeah, well, and I think the Notion problem is not so far removed from like the IDE problem. Eventually, what will become is like we have these wonderful, optimized, opinionated interfaces for what is essentially going to become a layer we abstract away from almost permanently. And so the question is like, well, cool, like you did that part so well. At what point, like, how do you move away from that in the world where that part is not the super user's use case? And that's the question. So like I get that we get mad at Notion or we look at Notion and say, hey, like that seems dated. I think they did well in a world that they had to. And I think they're thinking intelligently about the world that's very different from that. And the messiness is coming from bridging the two together.
Yeah, I mean, if you say so.
Oh man, but can I just tell you about something that's a little unrelated? I just want to flip the topic a tiny bit. There is some relevance, but we're gonna start and just talk about this because I saw this trending. All right, and I do want to talk about this. So this is a designer. All right, goes by the name Anti-Real. I believe her name is Fern. She's got a pretty great little style here. You know, you can tell this is kind of her thing. And she's been doing this for years now. All right. Yeah. So we get it. We get the style, the vibe. Well, there's some alleged theft happening here, Hunter. And I want listen, we've come across this. All right. Brett has taken hits for things like this, and I've dug into that and I've tried to find the similarities. And what I've concluded in some of those situations, not all, is that there is a very obscure gray area where I can see arguments for both sides. But I looked into this one, and this is a 1-for-1 rip in many of the instances people called. So she basically says the Marathon Alpha, Marathon is a game that's coming out soon, released by the Bungie studio, former Halo creators, right? And all the released marketing materials, the things that you see in game, its environments are filled with assets that she claims are lifted from poster designs she did back in 2017. And so if you start to look at some of this, it's a little bit hard. I'll point it out for you here because this is the way she put all these images together. It kind of looks like this is all one aesthetic, but she's using her aesthetic to call out the elements. So over on the right here, I think we have some of the poster stuff. And over on the left, you have in-game screens. And in these screens, she's showing the iconography, the same order, in multiple instances. So you see some of the like chevrons or carrots, very similar. You could kind of argue for or against. So, but there are certain elements that are just damning. Like here's a pattern that can kind of gets used across one poster to in-game materials. Some of that's like, okay. But some of her fans started pulling even more examples of this stuff, right? Let's look at, you see like Aleph. This is something, a poster she did, and you see it here showing up on different ship models. I mean, it's literally just ripped directly as is. And so if you did or did not believe this, they find more examples. Bungie has come out and they did say, yeah, we are investigating this, and then ultimately released a statement and said, a designer on our team did in fact do this. So they have admitted faults. And listen, this is not the first time they've come under fire here. They did this. There's currently a lawsuit about some of the story writing in Destiny 2 in 2013, claims and receipts for copying inspiration from a piece inside of a cutscene from a different artist. Caught using fan art inside of one of their trailers without permission, credit, or any sort of compensation. And then even last year, accused of kind of copying a Nerf gun and using that again in some of their conceptual stuff. The designer here, not to throw shade and not trying to create any sort of outrage culture, but was Joseph Cross, has not responded to this. You can see he was sharing stuff earlier. He does follow that designer. So all this to say, right? Okay, great. So some design drama, Bungie's at fault. What does this all mean? Well, the first thing this made me think of is one, I think this is probably one of the most egregious examples of a AAA studio or a company of its size just outright plagiarizing some like independent artist design. I don't believe she's employed right now, which kind of adds to the whole thing. But then it made me ask the question, is this one of the last remaining IP battles of human contributed theft that we're going to see? With the state of where AI is going, because there was, before Bungie came out and said, hey, we had a designer who did this thing, like that's on us. I almost thought it would be really interesting if Bungie or the designer involved said, actually, I used AI and this, I didn't know, I wasn't directly stealing from someone, but like the AI generated this. Now, whether that would have been a true or a false statement, that to me, it doesn't feel like we're super far removed from this kicking up what will probably eventually be there's going to be some big IP battleground someday. I would assume this is going to happen. And I could see
Yeah.
some sort of catalyst like this kicking that off. Is this the last thing we're going to see on human contributed theft, do you think?
No, I don't. And I also don't think anything is going to come of
You don't
this.
think this is going to cause a decrease? So let's call it out, though. The one thing I will say about the demographics impacted here, it's two of the most triggered demographics I think we have, gamers and designers. And I will tell you, those gamers, even the vocal minority folk, are a fickle bunch. And they will come for these companies. So
Yeah.
the question is, I believe if I saw correctly, I have not looked at Ubisoft's stock today, but I thought someone was trying to make some claims that it took a hit or something or other. And I don't know if that's true. We can look that up. You don't think Marathon's release, which has not happened yet, is going to be impacted by this? You think this
No,
stuff usually kind of
I
blows
don't.
over?
I think it's going to blow over. I think that for once, Adrian's being useful. But there are, QC departments, like they're going to pay attention. It's got 50,000 likes on Twitter. They're going to be like, okay, let's remove this before the release. I don't think anything is going to come of it. I don't think that people are not going to buy the game because of it. They're going to buy the game if it's fun to
Yeah.
play, or they're not going to buy it because it's not fun. I think the only thing, because I do agree that the gaming community is very fickle. I think the only thing that the gaming community gets upset about is quote unquote wokeism. So a la the new
Which
Assassin's
just
Creed, which is
fell
a
on its
commercial
face.
dumpster fire. Yeah. Or situations to where they feel like they're not getting what they paid for, like a Helldivers 2 situation with the whole Sony thing. I mean, hell, the Escape from Tarkov community and all the weird things that they've done with Battlestate games. Like those are issues to where gamers are going to be having an issue. I don't think some like random assets from some lady's posters are gonna cause any economic strife. It's bad. I don't like that they did that. I feel sorry for her. I feel like they should pay her. But
yeah,
it's
and
fine.
I generally agree when you see these cancel or these dramatic things, even when the company's in the wrong. There are such few instances where it made a lasting impact. But I will say, there are things, and this really lends to the case of why people are so willing to back indie game developers because of things like this. There
Yep.
is a community at play. There is just a turning your back on the community. Like the fact that this company is willing to do this, or I think they should pay her and make her rich. I think it's the best case scenario they could do. maybe maybe you disagree with that and think like it's not going to be worth the 7-figure whatever they'd have to pay her to make people pleased, because people wouldn't be pleased still.
I doubt they
You
pay
doubt
her.
they pay her anything.
I doubt they pay her anything. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I think they should. If they wanted to keep that in the game, for example, here's the best thing that Bungie could do in this case. They could say, you know what? We didn't know this. This designer screwed up. He's probably going to lose his job, right? And they say, we actually love the aesthetic this created
Right.
for the game. We don't want to backtrack. Here's $100,000, for example, right? Here's 6 figures. Here's 100K. Or, I mean, let's be more realistic. Here's 50K.
It wouldn't fly. Though.
Right?
The community would be so mad at that, you know.
But if I designed a handful of posters and there were a handful of small design artifacts that Bungie ripped out of some of my designs, that some designer that worked for them, did this, dude, I if I went to the person, I said, hey, like, let me give you 50,000. I'm sorry, and give us rights to use these assets, and like, it's a win-win for everybody.
I mean,
like,
I don't think so. That wouldn't be a win for Bungie, because I don't think people would. No,
50K?
I just think from an optics standpoint, I don't think people would be thrilled. And by the way, normally this stuff would like live and die in like an X bubble. But I will say this particular story is already caught wildfire from every major gaming influencer out there to all the media publications. Like the gaming side has taken this, and the design side's been like, yeah. But the gamers have come hard. They're like, no, little bro, we got this. And they've been taking this story far. So I am curious. Nothing's going to come from it. Yeah.
Again, like either streamers enjoy the game and they play the game and people will follow them, or they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting to see a lot of this. I wanted to call it out because it does make me think like, hey, this is why Blue Ocean Games is creating the sale fund to specifically to support community builders. A lot of people, the same way Jay was talking about, niche audiences and communities, just really ready to ride and rock with someone making something good. These larger companies are just making it kind of easy to outbrand them anyway. That's how I think.
It's very easy to outbrand them. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of been my thing, man. I know that we've been seeing other design drama on X. We've been seeing some builder stuff. We see guys like Roy Lee, who I talk about frequently now with Cluely, getting funding, building out these kind of agitating media arms. Hey, we're going to do this big swing. We're going to talk a little bit of shit. AWS, by the way, reached out to Roy and was like, hey, you know how we decided to cancel your intern interview? We'd like to actually onboard your company to our kind of accelerator program with AWS. And he just kind of tweeted a, well. And I'm going to say it. I appreciate that they're willing to recognize. I mean, they're obviously a huge company. That department probably had no real idea. I don't know. But then you look at the schools who kind of kicked him out, and I'm sure they're just mum's the word,
Dude,
tell me how you feel.
I like that kid's energy. We've talked about it. I like his energy. I mean, I'm interested to see what they do, but just be careful. Because if I'm like, yo, hey, sorry, we didn't get your internship, whatever, would like to invite you to the startup program, and then you're tweeting it out, I might be like,
Yeah.
Kid, are you forgetting that I'm a multi-trillion-dollar global enterprise behemoth? Like, come on.
I think the little bit of, obviously some hubris, but I think that's what's kind of fun about like some of these young kids. Listen, like it's risky because you're like, oh man, you're going to take the wrong swing and smack yourself in the face with the bat. But at the same time, it's like you have the freaking audacity to look at a giant and be like, little anime character, like, yeah, no big deal. Take the bat out. I'm ready to go, And I like that. I think that's cool. I think crusty, dusty dudes like you and I can be a little bit like, we're being pragmatic and realist because,
dude, are we crusty dusty?
We're crusty dusty, dude.
No, man.
You don't
I'm
feel
a young man.
dusty?
No, dude. No.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I saw you eating your pizza for breakfast. Look a little crusty to me.
Brother, it's 1:00. I had fasted for breakfast. Thank you very much. How do you think I stay so svelte?
You're
Come
an
on.
IF. You're an IF guy, huh? You do a 14-hour, 16-hour windows. What are you on?
I like a 16-hour. I
Oh.
want to acknowledge chat, guys. I know about the audio. We'll give you the rundown real quick. We know it is isolated to Restream. It is a Restream issue. It happens intermittently. If it does happen, you'll see me kick off to my AirPods and back again to fix the sync. Tommy and I have made the decision to upgrade to OBS. It's kind of a process there because we have guests. So we have a lot of complexity there of us being able to co-host the show at the same time without needing a producer and having guests and all this stuff. We're on it. We got it. Just bear with us. That's a good time for me, by the way, to acknowledge something. You know what doesn't give me headaches like this?
What's that?
Bolt. Bolt.new does not give me headaches like this. I'm actually really excited because I'm putting my money where my mouth is. The new release notes site is being vibe coded with Bolt.
Hey, let's go.
It's going to be sick. Lots of cool APIs and integrations that we got to pull in because it'll live stream YouTube and connect to our newsletter at Beehive and stuff like that. So yeah, one of my favorite things about it is the Stripe feature. Okay. I was thinking about it because I was like, we've talked about the Stripe feature twice now. So you know what we need? We need a tipping feature where people can give us tips just so we can demonstrate how damn easy it is to integrate Stripe with Bolt.new. So that's what I'm going to do. Are we going to get tips? No, probably not. Do we need them? No, but we're going to do it. So next Friday, new release notes site, vibe coded with Bolt.new, presented by Bolt.new. I also think their hackathon starts May 30th. Is that right?
It does. Yes, it does. I'm actually pretty stoked to go in there. I'm going to tell you what, I don't know who's going to win that thing, and I don't know how public they are going to be about all the applicants, but I think we need to do our very own winner selection if we have all the information available to us.
I like that. Speaking of winner selection, we're going to play a game. You have 5 seconds to put in the chat. Okay, we're going to do a bit of trivia.
You want to play a game?
Here is the bit of trivia. Okay, the bit of trivia is this. Okay, if you can tell me, okay, the first year that there was ever a ValioCon hosted, I will give you a free ticket to ValioCon right now.
5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Womp womp.
Let's see what we got.
We got nothing. I'm not seeing anything. Come on, Claw. I know. Adrian, I know you just got back from London, the whole shebang. By the way, out in London, Rid, Fonz, James McDonald, a number of folks out there partying their faces off. That kind of looked more fun than the San Francisco one, if I'm honest. 2012, 2023, 2011. You guys are all over the place. Any of those the answer?
All over the place. What do you think?
You want me to guess? I don't know. ValioCon? I mean, was it rebranded? I feel like it had to have been rebranded at some point because of, I don't know. How close was Epicurrence related to ValioCon?
I don't know how.
By the way, we have Drew Wilson, the founder of ValioCon, coming on today.
ValioCon.
The first question I'm going to ask him is to pronounce it for me.
Oh my God. Anyways, the answer was 2011. Ethan Driscoll. You got yourself a free ticket to ValioCon, sir.
Hey, that's a $1,300 get, by the way.
That is a $1,300 get. Yes. Yeah. 2011 was the first ValioCon. Fun fact, would you guys like to see the site from 2011?
Yes.
I have it right here for you. I will show you. Here it is. Here is ValioCon 2011. Man, remember when these were the juggernauts back then? GitHub Social Coding, Campaign Monitor, WP Coder. Who did we have back then? We had Brad Smith. We had Anton Zykin. Man, I haven't heard his name in a while. Ethan Dunham.
Wow.
Gina Bolton. David Kaneda. I hope that's right. Dmitry Jozik. I don't know. Mike Rundle. Dave Hill. Look at that. The man that has been relevant forever. Raji King.
That's funny, actually.
Mike Rundle again.
Raji's been in the scene.
Raji has been around.
Which so let's compare this with who's there this year. Pull it up.
Let's
see what we got. All right. You ready? here we are.
Now they've taken hiatuses, obviously, right? They've taken
Totally.
hiatuses.
So, which by the way, the new website compared to the first, improvements for sure, right?
This one's marginally better.
I love this. So, see who we got. The Fun Conference. 5 days in San Diego, by the way. Speakers, Christina Cordova, the COO at Lanier. Good friend Dan Petty. Hey, that'll be fun. Kathleen Warner, designer and musician. Linus. Excited to say hi to him. Haruko Hayakawa, artist. Look who we got again, man. Can't stay away.
Can't get rid of him.
We can't get rid of him. Rob Hope, who was also in London, by the way. Saw some good photos of him. Hitan Shah, Madison Waldvogel, head of marketing at Agelist. Han Weng Chong. This is cool. Sebastian. Dude. Sebastian. It's going to be fun.
Sebastian.
Pablo.
Claudio.
Have you met Pablo? Pablo's a great dude, man.
Yes.
Pablo's a great dude.
I met him in Amsterdam.
Uh-oh. What are you guys getting up to there? Hey, Will King. Will King, also someone I'm excited to hang out with. This looks fun, man, and I don't know how big these things get. If you do want a ticket, $300 off right now for the next 14 days.
Wrong, 500. 500 if you use the code release notes.
Oh, there you go. There you
go.
Well,
I think that's the code.
You coordinated quite the hookup for these rascals.
I do what I can for these people, you know? I do what I can. I just said, if you get any kind of email that comes through purchasing with the name Adrian or Fortuna, blacklist it.
Yeah, you're not allowed. You're not in. San Diego, not far from my home. Excited about that. It's going to be warm weather, but it's going to be nice. Well, actually, that's September. I think that'll be pretty great weather. I think it'd be pretty nice. Yeah. You been to San Diego? How often do you go to San Diego? And do you surf?
I've never surfed. Interestingly
get
enough,
out there and get a little shoulder workout in. What?
Hell yeah, dude! I'm down to get out there and do this.
You look like you burn easy.
I do. I'm a white boy. I burn easy. Yeah, I do. I'm more of a snowboard guy. You know, I'm a big snowboarder. So that's my kind of go-to. Surfing, I've never surfed. I don't like the beach, man.
You know, getting sand up in all the spots and everything. Yeah.
No, see, my wife always wants to go to the beach, and that was my 10,000 IQ move. Was if I buy a boat, I'll never have to go to the beach again. I'll just be on my boat. You see what I'm saying? So little does she know that was my motivating
Hunter,
factor.
by the way, class, I'm tell the class. Hunter,
Don't tell
in
the
the
class.
process of buying a boat, you know.
There's no in the process anymore. Yeah, no, it's mine. Yeah.
Oh, you got one yesterday? Oh, okay.
I finished the stuff this morning.
He got a yacht. He got a super yacht. Right.
It's a nice boat. It's a nice
Michigan.
Boat. Yeah, it's a nice boat. Yeah. It's not a yacht, but it is a nice boat.
It's coming for Gaben. You know, Gaben's.
I'm coming for what?
Gabe Newell.
What about Gabe Newell? Oh, the steam yacht.
The steam yachts that he has, just the armada of party yachts that if he called in, I would imagine he'd be in a robe, no shirt underneath, dude glasses on, just like hanging. You know, not even aware of what's going on at Valve, like just unsure, just yeah, I don't know. People are building stuff. You know?
that bro is like sitting on his boat with Valve Index on, playing Half-Life in his underwear.
Never left in years.
Dude, never left. Literally. Oh, I bet that each room is themed from a game. Actually, you know what? What would be even funnier is if you met Gabe Newell in real life and you went on one of his boats and you learned he got a little tipsy. You know what I mean? He was I don't know what do rich assholes like that drink cognac. He was hitting the cognac or like the 25 Macallan, and he's like, you know what? I fucking hate video games. These little nerds. They've made me rich. How do you think I afford my yachts? And then you were like, whoa, this is trippy. That's what I believe Gabe Newell to really be.
Okay.
About in real life. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. We'll get Gabe on one day. Probably not. Yeah. But we'll try.
I don't think. Will we try though? I don't think so. I would like to talk to Notch. I'd like to talk to Notch.
Yeah. What do you want to ask him? Like how he deals with the post Minecraft era of life?
What's it like to have a candy bar like that and hate your life?
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Speaking of candy bars, I'm about to flame somebody that just joined us. Drew, welcome to the show. You're coming in. We're gonna give it to you hot real quick because I remember this thing, and I don't know if you deleted it. I hope you didn't. Okay, and then I'm
All
gonna
right.
attack you, and then I'm gonna praise you. So it's gonna be an emotional roller coaster. Ready? All right. Drew was like, I should tweet more. And so I saw one day, you're like, let me show you around my house. And then I'm like, oh, this is cool. Drew's got a nice house. And then you took everybody into the movie theater. And I was like, this fucking
Yeah.
guy, this guy.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I don't consider that a flame. That's it's a fun thing. I love my
It-
movie
it-
theater. I've always
It is a
wanted
fun
one,
thing.
and now I have one. So it's good.
I'm in the same boat. My movie theater is a Vision Pro. So they're slightly
Yes.
different, you know?
You know,
But,
I got one of those Vision Pros and I tried out the movie theater stuff and I'm like, this is legit. Like
It's
you
so good.
feel like you're in a movie theater for sure. Like the one difference is you can't be like, hey, wasn't that cool? Oh, wait,
Yeah.
I'm the
No,
only
you
one in
can
here.
now. You can. You can sit in the same movie theater with your
Oh, that's true. They did
Drew.
do the update. I just don't know anybody with Vision Pro.
Brother,
So
you want to watch a movie later? You want to rewatch Interstellar? I'm there.
let's do
You
it,
tell
dude.
me. All right. You just
Yeah,
passed the
I love that.
popcorn.
I love that movie.
Drew, we've been talking a lot of lately. Today's kind of theme has been about designers becoming broadcasters, but we have a huge running theme right now of designers turned founders. Last week we talked a lot about that being the number 2 request for startups from YC was designers turned founders. We want to fund you. You are one of my favorite designers turned founders who has just been kind of, I don't want to say behind the scenes, but has been there for 15, 20 years in the industry, just like building in public. I think you sold Plasso, excuse me, right?
Yep.
So Plasso was kind of one of the bigger exits, and you've just been really, I would say, the pinnacle of consistency as a designer turned founder turned just like nerd explorer of technology. Dude, what's the journey been like for you, and what do you think about AI these days?
Yeah, I think I've had a fun journey. I never I was a founder, but I didn't know it, right? I was in tech, but I didn't know like what tech was. And so for me, it's always been a hobby and something I enjoy doing. So like if I could be like, well, Drew, what do you really want to do? Well, I probably want to build something in technology. And so it's like for me, it's very fun and easy to do this sort of work because it's what I enjoy and what I would do otherwise. Though I will say, now I'm getting up there in age and I would like a break. But other than that, I still enjoy it and have a blast. That's actually right now I'm kind of doing what I used to do, staying up late working on a side project, which is tons of fun. And and to perfectly segue into what you said, I'm using AI this time. I've been a huge fan of AI. Have thought a lot about it. Actually, I'm the designer at a company called Cortical Labs, and we have made the very first ever commercially available biological computer, brain on a chip. And so that is a form of AI. It's actual intelligence instead of artificial intelligence. But the AI you're talking about and the stuff I'm using is Claude and using that to build out this next project. And I was like, man, this would be so fun to build my next thing with like AI as my employee / like, brain trust, help me get through this stuff. And it's a form of vibe coding. I hate the idea that, someone would call me a vibe coder, right? Because I've been building stuff for like 20 years and I'm very familiar with how to do all the things on my own. However, like, if you already know how to build stuff and you then use one of these tools like Cursor, which I'm using Anthropic's Claude through Cursor as well as Claude directly, it is such an unlock. Like it is a massive unlock to be like, okay, this is exactly what I want you to do. And as someone who's built stuff, you're already architecting things, already making notes, diagrams. You can give it that information. It can work on the stuff. You can see like, no. Don't introduce new types. Don't introduce new functions when I tell you to split these files. Just do it like this. And it's really it's a massive unlock. So I feel like the people that are going to get the most out of AI are going to be people like me and people who have never coded anything before. If you're in that middle ground, you're probably not going to get as much. People who've never coded anything before, they're going to be like, "Holy crap, I just made something!" Right? That's huge. And then people who are like very experienced engineers, I think it'll be like, "Wow, finally I can have a clone." People always, wish
Yeah.
they could clone themselves, and like finally you can. So it's fun.
I like to think that you're spot on. Like the two people that are going to do the best are builders or just generally systems thinkers. So people that understand the fundamentals of how these different software layers and languages interact, and how databases work, and security and APIs and all those things. Just having a fundamental understanding of those things. You might not even need the language though. Like recently, the way I like to joke about it is like, it's like I've always wanted to learn to speak French, and I learned how to say like hello and goodbye and like how to ask for a menu at a restaurant and all these things. And then all of a sudden one day I got hit in the head and I could speak the entire language fluently. And that's what AI is like.
Is that a real story?
No, that's not.
Oh, okay. I was like, that is freaking crazy.
That's the story of AI, Drew. You're so gullible.
You got hit in the head and you can speak French. Whoa.
That'd be sick, though.
To be fair, those stories are becoming the case, though.
They are,
and
yeah.
The one thing I'll say, too, by the way, and hey, Drew, nice to meet you, man. I'll tell you this. You threw me through it last night because I got 2 newsletters that have to go out on Fridays. So I'm a busy man on Thursdays, getting the newsletters written up. I got UX tools talking about dope design tools coming out. We got the release notes talking about what's happening in AI. And then you come out at 12:45 a.m. my time to drop this nice little banger about opacity, that you're making something cool. And I was like, God damn it, Drew, I just put out the newsletters and this is a wonderful piece of information that I would have loved to include. And so we'll have to do that next week. But I got to ask you, man, between ValeoCon that you've got coming out, is it Valeo or ValeoCon?
It's neither. It's Valeo.
It's Valeo.
ValeoCon. Right? I say
Drew, this guy pronounces zeitgeist zeitgeist. Just don't listen to him.
But what I'll say is this: neither.
Dude, you're the weak link, Tommy.
What I'll ask you is this: you clearly are a man on a mission. Like something drives you. These are obviously your interests, whether it's the organic chip that you were just talking about, or opacity, or in real life events since 2011. Man, like what drives that? There's got to be some vision there.
Yeah, I would say I have a complete lack of overall plan, and I'm really just doing things that I wish exist. That's kind of what I've done from the beginning. Like, oh, I wish that existed. I don't know how no one else is doing it. I'll just do it. And so that's where like the conference came from originally in 2010, when I was like, man, like there's all these cool conferences, but it's all the same people speaking at the conferences, and I was like the folks that are doing cool stuff that I see on Twitter, which at that time was kind of new, I was like, these people need to be speaking. We need to hear from these people. And so when I did the first ValeoCon, pretty much everyone who talked, other than I think one person, was their first ever talk. And I kind of continued that through all the ValeoCons. Like most of the people, it's their first time talking. So that I wanted to exist. And so, I made it, and I lost all my life savings every single time I did it, except once. And it's very expensive. And if you want to do conferences, you want to make money, you have to like have a conference that has thousands of people. If you do a small one, you're not going to make any money. But that's not why I do it, right? I do it because I want something like that to exist.
Yeah.
And since it's not happening otherwise, I'll just do it. And same with the apps that I've built,
How big is ValeoCon right now? Like, what's the total attendance that you're after?
Yeah, so every year we've capped it at 200, and so that's what we're going for this year. Again, I will say that it's a little different this year. Like previously, it was more common for people to go to independent design conferences, and those things were just more common. And then like COVID hit, and kind of a little before COVID, it kind of like stopped, and then COVID hit and everything stopped. And since then, there hasn't really been any design conferences that are independent that I've really seen. I haven't seen any other than, Figma's got their conference, which like every designer goes to, but it's a design tools conference. There's nothing else there, other than like, the speaking stuff is all around Figma. So I still think they should exist, but I don't think it's the norm for people anymore. So getting people to come out to ValioCon is definitely more difficult this year than it has been in the past. So
What do you think is the norm? Because I want to know this. So you've been around for a long time. We got some people saying you didn't introduce Drew. Guys, if you don't know Drew, that's your problem. Go Google real quick, Drew Wilson. You've been around forever. You were I got to tell you, a very talented designer, and then you started building things. I think you guys first launched Plasso in, like, was it 2014?
yeah, 2014.
2014, 2018, you sold it to GoDaddy?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So you've been around, you were building things, chasing your curiosity, vibe coding before AI did it for you. And so I think you've done something interesting to where all of the things that I've seen you build or that I've seen you hack on, it's like, I get why he's doing that. It's not just I'm going to use old school term here. It's not a widget. Like I get the utility of it. I get why it would be a commercial enterprise, right? And now we have like the vibe coders, and you've got people building certainly like little fun passion projects, but then we have like, I got 2,000 MRR for a fart app, basically, right? like what excites you most about the things that you're seeing people build, and where do you think people are getting things really wrong?
Yeah. I think the advent of AI making it really easy to build stuff is gonna lower the bar to entry for like building something that someone else can download onto their device and use, right? Whether it be their desktop computer or app in the App Store. And that's just gonna mean that like the table stakes are just getting raised, right? It's so easy to build this little thing. So now like you can't just build a little thing anymore. And so I haven't really seen a lot of like vibe coded useful stuff yet. I don't know of any that exist yet. The vibe coding tools are really great. The tools that enable you to use AI are really cool. There's like Visual Electric, which is really cool, a designer founder there. And there's Lumi, and there's obviously like Cursor, and I think Windsurf just got bought by OpenAI, and so there's cool tools that are out there. But as far as like what's been made out of those, I haven't really seen anything yet. And I would guess that we're not going to see a lot of super useful things by somebody who just doesn't know what they're doing and is just vibe coding for vibes. I would expect that the real useful tools come from someone who has a purpose, has like a goal in mind, and is going to, spend a bunch of time building this thing as if there was no AI. It's the same sort of thing. Yeah, I haven't. I guess I can't answer your question because I haven't seen anything that I would use yet.
So I guess then to maybe turn this into something useful, with your background, like if you didn't have the experience that you have when it comes to actually building things, right? And you had an idea that you were pretty passionate about, you wanted to see this be manifested into reality. How do you what's the stack that you would choose today to kind of make that happen? And how do you think you would approach kind of the 1, 2, 3 of getting it done?
One of the like best things I think about choosing to build, like I'm going to build something with AI, like if you've already made that mental shift, the cool thing is you're already in this mindset of like, I just want to make this fast and I want to make it as easy as possible for me, because that's the whole point of using AI. And so you're going to be more open to like just getting it out there. You just be more open to shipping, right? And so for me, what I'm doing is I'm like, freaking screw building stuff from scratch again. And like, I have my own like PHP framework that I made that I use for everything. I've got my own Node framework that I use when I make Node projects, etc. Screw all that, right? I just want to get out fast. So I'm going to use Clerk, right? I work at Clerk, but I'm going to use Clerk to handle auth and to do billing, because I just launched Clerk billing and it's going to be the way I want it to be. So all that stuff is now taken care of. You can get an app going in like a couple minutes. Like you can log in, they can start paying for a blank screen, but they're paying for something. And then Jazz tools I found when I was like working with Opacity, I'm like, I need something that's like local first. I don't want to deal with freaking Vercel or AWS or any of this kind of crap, like to like manage my buckets and manage my servers and that. I don't want to deal with it at all. Like I just want it to work. And that's like what Jazz Tools does. And your API key to use Jazz Tools is your email address. You just put that in. That's the only config you have to do, and it's backed up by them. It's all available on the servers. You don't have to give a rat's tit about how it's set up or what's going on. It's just working great. And so using Jazz Tools and Clerk, like that's all you got to do. You don't need a database. You don't need anything else, and you can just make stuff. So.
Let me ask you a question, and to kind of keep this one on theme too. We were talking a lot about builders becoming more broadcasters or community builders as part of like a stack these days for the indie builder. What sort of tool stacks or what ways are you using AI to help you bring community together, like for this conference coming up?
Yeah, I wish I had some good insight there, but I'm not.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't
I'm,
sure.
well, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wasn't sure if that was something that you're, have internal tooling for, or ways that you do it, or is it more of like, I just kind of vibe these conferences together. I reach out to some dope people. I'm like, hey, you want to come and do a thing? And then you put it together and it seems like kind of sells itself.
Yeah, exactly. Previously, the way that I would do is I just promote through Twitter. These days, that's a little more difficult. I haven't done a ValueCon in 7 years. And so Twitter used to be like just a feed of crap that you would see, and you just see it all the time. And now they have like YouTube-esque algorithms built in, as you know, into X, where like only if you engage with other people will X actually distribute your posts around. So you got to like be a user yourself. You can't just consume and then post and expect things to happen. And that's my standard behavior. I read and then I just post when I want to post. And it used to just like go out to tons of people, like all my followers, but now it doesn't. And so it's to get the reach. I never spent the time to like build an audience because it takes a lot of time and it's just not something I cared to do. Yeah. And so I'm feeling the pain now that there is no social network anymore that doesn't have an algorithm in it. And so it's harder to reach folks now. And so now you got to freaking work for it. It used to just come for free. So now what I do is I literally just like DM people. I just like every day I'm just DMing people. Hey, have you heard about ValueCon? You should come. Hey, have you heard about ValueCon? You should come. So hundreds and hundreds of DMs. Yeah.
Wow. Way to make me feel so much less special, Drew. On that note, I mean, it's crazy because—
how did I make you feel less special? Sorry.
No, it is weird because we've seen the X algorithm shift so quickly. And now that I think it's fully ported over to Grok, to where Grok is powering it. So it's no longer based on an interest graph, which is really interesting because I think, at least in terms of what they've publicly admitted, it's the first social network powered by an LLM. Whereas, like, sure, there's AI elements to like what Meta does, but fundamentally, like, it's still an interest graph network because that's where their revenue comes from. Yeah, it's interesting to think about the implications of like, how do you get views and engagement outside of just like biting like whatever content wave is hot right now. But then it's easy to argue, like right now, if you're posting like we probably have a mutual friend, Mark Kimion, love Mark to death. Mark went viral for the first time in a long time, posting those Airbnb icons. It's like, that's great, you went viral, but like nobody knows that's you. Like, where's the connection between the viewership and caring about the author? And so, are you playing a game to where it's just views for views' sake? And if so, like, what's the utility of that? It's a weird time.
Yeah, it's also, it's like there's no guarantee. Like, you build an audience and there's no guarantee that like if you're like purposely trying to build an audience, the reason you're trying to do it is so that way you can promote stuff in the future, right? Whether it be free stuff, paid stuff, whatever it might be, what you're up to. And if the algorithm operates on like whatever's most popular, we're going to show that, and then everything else doesn't matter who you are, how many times you go viral, we're just going to like shove all your stuff down and only lift the stuff that's already being popular. then you never really get rewarded for, you know, those viral posts you made. You have to be one of the few that's got like millions of followers. Otherwise, you know, you could have 100,000 followers and still like you'll get like 2,000 views on something that includes a link because it included a link, you know, or something like that. It's just kind of lame. And I in no way, I mean, I did a social network before, but in no way do I ever want to build a social network. But, you know, it'd be nice if there was a different one that just worked like regular talking, where you could just say stuff and everyone who's following you would see it. But you can't do that anymore because people have this idea of like, well, we have millions of followers, so it would be impossible you would be able to keep up with it. Whereas, you know, Twitter, when it was smaller in the earlier days, it was really a social network for tech folks. It wasn't like regular people on there. And it was small enough that, you know, at most you're following like 1,000 people or something, a couple thousand people, and you could easily keep up with it. Yeah, those days are gone.
I think it's time to vibe code the next version of Path. Just bring back Path.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, it'd be great, but then no one will sign up because they don't want to sign up. Like, that's what Blue Sky goes through. Everyone and Mastodon, like people are like, "Oh yeah, great social network is going to work different. Please join me over here. Please join me over here." Everyone goes over there, creates an account so they can reserve their username and never go back.
Chad had a strong 2 weeks.
Yeah. Dude, network effects, man, they're just too strong. Like I'm over here saying, like, you know what? Give me something that maxes out at Dunbar's number. I only need 150 people, no more, and let me show them what I'm eating for lunch. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's go back to the old school days.
That's why these conferences are so sick, man, because even you were calling out config. I was there last or the week before, whenever that was. And we hosted a big party and the whole thing. And you're right, like a big marketing event. But the thing that still made it and hopefully remains for a little while interesting was just all the third party stuff, like the people willing to put events up, a party, a dinner, and just get together and go deep with one another and have like good conversations. It's like we are missing that. We're just fed algorithms everywhere we go digitally now, that unless you're in a Discord or a Slack group or a text thread, you kind of can't get that anywhere else. And I'm kind of excited to have that with the conference. I think that's going to be a really rewarding mechanism. My thesis is a lot of people miss that.
Yeah, it's my thesis too. And so everyone should come out for it. Yes, it truly is like a really fun experience. Like people who have gone, like when I first announced it, like all the first initial ticket sales were like people who had gone before, like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to go again. It's going to be great. It's more like a vacation. It's like, you know, 5 days essentially on the beach, hanging out with people, small, and it's purposely small because once you get too big, things get like clicky and it gets hard to connect with people. Like in ValueCon, I've built in stuff like makers moments, like in between talks, like 5 minutes, someone gets up and talks about what they're doing. The purpose of that is so other people can be like, oh, I'm interested in that stuff too. I'll go talk to them afterwards, right? So it's all, the whole thing is all about like connecting folks, and you know, you're going to be in the industry for a long time, most likely, and it's cool to like build real relationships on top of, you know, the Twitter friends and followers that you have,
and to support that serendipity. Chris says, "Bring back Cave Week, Drew." What's Cave Week?
Oh, caveweek.com, man. I don't think it's still up or anything, but back when I was doing Plasso, because Plasso was originally just me, and then 2 years in, I raised money and built up a team, and then 2 years later sold it. And so I did these after I raised money and everything. I was mostly managing, and so I was very behind on like IC kind of stuff. And so I was like, man, I have no time. There's so much stuff we got to get out. I just got to like stay up all night and do it. And so that's something I've done often, but this time I was like, oh, I'll just like film it. And so it was a week of no sleep, sleeping like 2-3 hours a night, some nights not sleeping at all. And I filmed the whole thing. I had an office, so I had a 2-story office. So I had like a bed up there separate from my house. And then I flew the grandparents in for my wife and the kids. And I just like lived in the office, eating cookies and drinking iced tea and just coding. And people just watched me like this.
Yeah. So
dude, how did I miss this?
Cave Week is what I call goblin mode. I love
it. Goblin mode. Yeah, dude.
I have this this makes me really curious. Hold on one second. Let's see.
Unfortunately, none of the videos, I filmed them all and they're all on YouTube, but I can't actually make them public or anything because I listened to music in the background while I was doing it. And I had a playlist, a Spotify playlist that anybody could put music onto. So I was listening to whatever people were putting on there for me. And that was part of the fun of it. But it's, all copyrighted. So YouTube's like, no, you can never show this again.
Dude, we got to bring this back. I'm ready. I'm ready to host a cave week at the Assembly HQ here in the Outpost.
Yeah.
We'll host a cave week for anybody that wants to do it. I will lock you all in here. I don't care about fire safety. I'll give you all the Oreos you need.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's great.
Sometimes.
Well, Drew, I appreciate you coming to hang out, man. Excited to meet for ValioCon. Tommy's trying to talk me into throwing a party, but it's 200 people. We don't need to go crazy with parties, Tommy.
That is the party. Yeah,
that is the party. Yeah.
It's a fun time. It's a fun time. You guys have a blast. It's like right in downtown Oceanside, so tons of food options. I try to leave like unlike other conferences where it's all day till like night. It's like stops at like 2 most days, and then you got the whole day to. Like,
and everyone just goes and hangs out. Yeah.
Right at the beach. So
hell yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Drew,
Cool.
thanks for coming to hang out, man. Good to meet you. See you soon.
Thank you. We'll chat later.
See you, Drew.
See ya.
Tommy, shh. Don't say anything. I'm going to show you something. From Josh Miller, CEO, The Browser Company. I'm working on an essay that outlines our thinking at Browser Company around Arc and Dia in detail. Parentheses. Why not integrate into Arc, open sourcing Arc, etc.?
There we go, man. There we go. Love.
Would you like your own fork of Arc?
Dude.
Have you tried Zen Browser?
No, and I've thought about it because it does look interesting, and maybe it'll scratch an itch, and it's got some feature parity. But I'm like, I'm gonna wait.
I downloaded it. I piloted it all last week. I used Zen Browser. It's built on Firefox, and I just don't like Firefox. I don't like their engine.
What is Comet? What is Comet built on? Do we know anything about that?
I know nothing about Comet.
Okay, I need to get in there because I'm excited about Comet.
I know nothing about it. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Hey, I'm stoked for ValioCon.
ValioCon. ValioCon. Look, here's the deal. Here's the deal. I know how to speak English. You don't. I know that Clow's name is Clow and not Claw. Okay. I know these things. I know that Zeitgeist is Zeitgeist. All right.
Zeitgeist, right?
Zeitgeist, yeah.
Oh,
did I just say Zeitgeist? Oh my God. I did say Zeitgeist. Oh, you're rubbing off on me. No. Zeitgeist. Anyways, you know what really pisses everybody off in my family? Anytime one of my kids sneeze, I say Gesundheit. I don't say bless you. I say Gesundheit.
They hate that? That's a triggering thing in the family?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, why don't you just say bless you? I'm like, why would I bless them? Like they sneeze, Because Gesundheit translates to good health. Anyways.
My wife was making fun of all of us tech folks. She likes to come and help and hang out when we go to SF out there. She says, yeah, if I have to hear another person say, let me noodle on that. So she's, what is with you guys in the word noodle? And I was like, you know what? We fucking say noodle all the time, man.
No, say percolate. I'm going to let that percolate.
I can't do percolate because I met a like indie DJ and I was like, what's
nah,
your
dude,
song?
let my subconscious sort that out. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Let's do some enterprise lingo. You ready for enterprise lingo rapid fire? Here's my favorite. Let's double click on that.
Double click had a moment. I liked double click and then I hated it.
Let's double click on that. All right, here's another one. Oh, yeah, that's going to be a net new development.
Net new. Another good one until it wasn't.
De novo. You ever heard that one?
I've not used de novo. No.
That's gonna be in banking. They're gonna be like, it's a de novo program. It's like, why don't you just fucking say new?
Rid loves double clicking on that. Yeah, Rid's a double clicker.
I'm gonna let it marinate. Okay. I'm gonna let it marinate. I let steak marinate sometimes, you know, like I
What do you
don't
marinate your
know.
steaks in?
Brother, salt, garlic, a little bit of rosemary, and a bunch of pepper.
Nah,
That's
dude,
it.
a little bit of fish oil, a little bit of fish sauce with a tiny dash of teriyaki, a little bit, just tiny bit. I'm telling you, man. Telling you. No, don't hate on it. Don't shh. Let me
Are you
teach you.
are you a man?
Don't.
Are you serious about your steaks?
Dude, I'm so like I don't even
I'm
put them on the
so
grill.
serious about my
I don't put
steaks.
them on the grill. I don't cook. You cook on the grill?
It depends. I will.
I try not.
Oh boy,
I generally don't do a
I'll
grill.
sous vide. I'll sous
Okay.
vide.
Which
Okay.
is solid, by the way.
I'll reverse sear. I will smoke them on. I have a pretty nice Traeger. I'll throw them on there for 225.
Yes.
I'll get those bad boys smoking for like 2 hours. Okay,
You're like a
thick.
medium rare guy, or what are you?
I'm a medium rare
rare?
guy. I'll smoke them. I'll pull them off, tent them with foil, let them rest for about 10 minutes. I will crank that Traeger up to 500. I'll throw those bad boys back on there for just a little bit, or I'll put them on a ripping hot cast iron.
Yeah,
Set the smoke alarms off.
That's me, man. I love that. That's my favorite. And I'm with you. I don't want a whole lot, but
Can I tell you a story?
Yeah.
Can I tell you a story about steak? All right. Speaking of enterprises, so we had this enterprise customer. They were paying us about $6-7 million a year. They recently hired this new VP of engineering. I'm not going to say his name, but this new VP of engineering, he came on. He inherited our contracts, basically. So it was this tension between the VP of product and the VP of engineering. VP of product was our home dog. VP of engineering was like, I don't like these fuckers, right? And we just had beef from day one. We were not seeing eye to eye. Okay.
Story.
All right. So we had this big thing. We had to fly out to the client, talk to them, whatever, meet this guy for the first time. Right. And I show up to the hotel late. They're in the lobby. So he's in the lobby with another team member from there and a couple of my employees. And I sit down, we introduce himself. He's kind of drunk. Right. And we're talking and whatever. And he's starting to be a little bit of a dick, you know? Okay. And he starts saying, he looks at me and he goes, actually, hold on. I got to give more context. My CRO, so my fancy pantsy chief revenue officer, is like trying to talk to him, just like, you know, get to meet him, whatever. And he's just like literally ignoring him. And then at one point just does this, just gives the hand. Okay?
No.
And I'm watching this happen. I'm like, this is weird. So then he's like getting a little bit more drunk. And he's like, yeah, like, Hunter, I don't want to talk to you. I just want to deal with him. And I'm like, well, you can't deal with him because that's not his role. You have to deal with me for these things. Because he wants a pushover. He wants somebody that's going to be like, you guys just do what I need. Don't talk to me about contract and SOW terms. Anyways. And so I'm like, that's not his job. You deal with me and I will help you out. And he goes, you're a fucking vendor. I'll talk to you however I want. I'll deal with whoever I want. You're a fucking vendor. We pay you. You don't tell me who I deal with.
Oh, the drinks were deep this night.
And I was like, A, if you didn't pay me millions a year, I'd punch you in the fucking face right now. Okay. B, no, that's not how it works. So we all settle down for about 5 minutes. Okay. And then this guy goes, do you guys like steak? You know, I'm Brazilian. Do you know how we make steak? We make them on a salt rock. And he's like, I'm going to be in Chicago in 2 weeks. Hunter, you should let me come over to your house and I'll grill you steak on a salt rock. And I'm like, brother, how did we just go from you fucking cursing at me and telling me you'll talk to me however the fuck you want to asking if you can come over to my house and make me steak on a salt rock, bro?
Right.
What is this insanity? That was the night that I was like, I'm leaving consulting. I'm not. This is no go for me.
I thought there was going to be like a happy ending where he came over and
oh no, there's no happy ending.
And then
no,
like
I fired that client. No, this is a sad ending. People lost their jobs.
It's a fucking terrible story, man. I thought this had relevance to
no,
something.
Dude.
This is just about a day you had a shitty client and the word steak was said.
Yeah, it had relevancy to making steak, dude. So I will never fucking cook steak on a salt rock. Just to spite
oh my God. Well, you know what? You did master, if not steak cooking, which I do think you probably are great. I'd outcook you though.
No, you won't. I'm very good.
You did. Yeah, I will. Absolutely. Steak Wars
Let's
episode
bring
1.
it.
Steak Wars episode
Let's
1.
Bring it.
All right. Hey, man, I'm telling you, I got that Korean in me. I got the Sicilian in me. I bring all the zest.
Tommy, did you know the best way to import your steak recipes and then stack rank them with the public audience is bolt.new? Anyways, continue. What were you going to say?
That's it. That's all I got. And we should do that. Actually, Bolt.news should be a
That would
part of
be
the Steak Off.
sick.
That would be incredible. But I was giving you kudos for being able to tell a 10-minute story about absolutely nothing. And somehow we still got chat to pop off about it. So bravo.
Dude, it's a good
Bravo.
story. And it is a
Yeah.
true story. That's the worst part. It is a true story.
Well, I hate to tell
Oh,
everybody
man.
this, but it is that time. For those of you who are in the know, I have to go to urgent care because my finger's falling off. So did a show with the finger falling off. Gonna go take care of it, and we'll see you on Tuesday. I think Sans finger.
Tuesday, show up. We're going to be vibe coding. It's going to be magical. I don't think we'll have any guests Tuesday. I don't think
Nope,
we're going
we
to.
do.
Oh, we got Inga.
Inga's joining us on Tuesday. How could you forget Inga?
Inga's going to be our last. She's going to be so great that she's going to be our last Tuesday guest.
Yeah, I think that might happen.
Hold on. You have to cook a steak while bolt.newing a recipe website on how to make the steak. This is genius content.
What's crazy about that is that would not even be fucking hard, man.
It wouldn't be hard.
Like I would literally just be, I mean, like truly, like I would finish the Bolt project in between flipping the steak.
Fake beer in one hand, keyboard action in the other. Get a little Marvin Gaye in the background, just make it real romantic. I can do this. This is easy. I hope you have insurance, Tommy.
Yeah,
Me too.
It looks rough. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. I thought this was a fun one. I enjoyed. I really cannot wait for September's conference. I hope Drew understands who he invited. Because
I think he does. I'm going to go on a mission now. I'm going to get $1 million from Jake Kapoor to go build some fancy PDF stuff. That's what I'm going to do.
He is down to invest into your boring ass ideas, I think.
Oh, yeah.
You are a special kind of boring that I think gets him going. So
yeah, dude. I get myself going. Do you see me right now? You see how excited I am thinking about steak? You know what I'm having for dinner tonight, Tommy? I'm having fillets. I'm going to pick some up. I'm going to the butcher.
You'd be like the less interesting Ryan Reynolds. Would you ever own a sports team?
I just don't care about sports enough to do that.
No, not a single one. You wouldn't do anything, huh? Okay.
I would own a vibe coding team.
Cream
Maybe
Digital?
A Build Wars League.
It'd be sick. It would be awesome. I'd love to see agencies go off against each other, man. Do you know how incredible that would be? Like I would film that for a This Is Taste episode. That would be so sick.
I would film that too. Yeah.
So,
Tommy,
right,
go
guys.
fix your finger.
We are going to